Hello my friends, I'm Larson and I'm the IRC Tire Guy. Today we're talking suspension upgrades, specifically trials suspension upgrades. The question is it worth it? Well, the answer might surprise you. Now, as you guys may know, I'm riding the 2024 Electric Motion ePure Sport. This bike is honestly one of my favorite motorcycles of all time. You can check out our full review of the ePure Sport right here if you haven't already. The big understanding here is the ePure Sport is the base model from Electric Motion. The price is extremely affordable compared to the other 2024 trials competition. Now, the biggest place I think they save money on this machine is the suspension, and that's what I want to dive into today. As always, I have to give you guys a little bit of background here. I don't really consider myself a trials rider. Although I absolutely love trials, I really only started putting actual dedicated time on the trials bike a few years ago. As we all know, for hard enduro, this is the best cross-training tool. The reason I'm saying this is my level of trials probably dictated the results of this suspension test. I ride the expert class here in Utah. The stock version of the 2024 ePure Sport with the stock suspension has won the expert class this year in Utah. Although if I rode a national, I'd probably get dead last in expert. So throughout this review, keep that in mind. So the stock suspension on the 24 ePure Sport comes with a R16V shock and DLC coated tech suspension. There's not a lot of adjustability with the forks and shock on this machine. In fact, I adjusted the forks and really never felt a huge difference. So I decided to go all out and upgrade. Now, this isn't really a common occurrence for me. Most of the full-size bikes I test, I usually keep pretty stock. But because I don't consider myself a trials rider, I was in the headspace of looking to spend big bucks for big advantages. And I'd say that's probably my first mistake, but we'll get more into that later. Let's talk about what upgrades I made. The R16V shock that comes stock on the ePure Sport really has no outside adjustment other than rider sag. So we opted for the Rider 3-way for increased adjustability. The forks are steel on the Sport, which is where some of that extra weight comes from when you compare the Sport to the race models. We upgraded to the 39mm aluminum Kashima coated tech suspension. Altogether, this was nearly 4K worth of suspension. Now, as soon as I received all these components, there really is a sense of beauty, especially with the Kashima tech forks. They look incredible. As you pick them up, you can feel the extreme lightweight characteristics. Weighing them against the stock steel tech forks, they come in a full 4 pounds lighter, which in trials is a huge difference. So after installing, which by the way is extremely easy on the Electric Motion due to no carb and no air boot, just a few bolts and everything is ready to go, I wanted to get my suspension all dialed in and get out and ride. Now, there isn't a lot of info on trials clicker settings, so I checked out Pat Smaj's YouTube. In this episode, Pat goes through his exact clicker settings, which all told took him all of about 1 minute and 30 seconds. I was surprised to find out all the clickers on my suspension out of the box were exactly where he told me to put them. In fact, this was a pretty common theme in his video. This is one of the best trials riders ever to come out of the US, and in this video he actually said he doesn't even set his sag, he just goes off of feel. Well, I decided to set my sag, so at least there'd be one thing I actually adjusted. From what I found, recommended rider sag is between 70 and 75 millimeters. So I landed on 72. Just so you know the exact settings of everything, the fork dampening is 19 clicks back from all the way closed. The preload on the forks is 5 full turns out. The shock is 38 turns out on the rebound, and again 72 millimeter sag. This is pretty much exactly how the suspension came. Perfect. Now it's time to go test. As soon as I got on the bike, I could definitely feel the decreased weight. I rode from section to section, performing each line the same as I did on the stock bike. At the end of my 15-section run, I stopped and really thought about the performance of this new Trix suspension. Did it make me a better rider like I hoped? Was it worth $4,000? Honestly, there's not a real definitive answer here. Here's the thing. It's beautiful suspension. I love looking at it. And placebo is a real scientifically proven thing. Was it leaps and bounds better than stock? Well, there's certain things that it definitely did better. One piece was the ability to take bigger drops over the stock stuff. Both front and rear felt like there's a little more resistance there, which is absolutely confidence inspiring. The lightweight feel may have helped my ability to regain balance in those hopping left to right situations. I think I was getting a little more spring up bigger obstacles, and I possibly felt a little more traction on the rear on climbs. Maybe. It's all a big maybe. The biggest thing that happened to me was finding a newfound respect for the vet rider. The guy who's at the motocross track with Olin's Gold factory suspension getting lapped by kids on 65s. This new door opened in my mind. A voice said, I get it. I'd rather just stare at it than use it. At least now, I honestly understand the guys who do that. I kind of used to mock them, but now I get it. On the big bike, I've always been of the opinion bike time trumps all. I don't know why for a second I thought trials would be any different. Honestly, for trials specifically, bike time is more true than anything. I know on the big bike, I can adjust my clickers and pretty majorly affect my lap times. Now, the same is true on trials, but honestly, I think it's much less. It's such a precision sport. The whole experience created such a higher level of respect for the reality Tony Bow lives in. Really, any of the top trials riders. They see things completely different than I do. That's the best part of my trials experience personally. Over the past few years, there's been certain lines I didn't even see as possible that are now in front of me and easy. Practice changes your reality, not parts. Although I absolutely love staring at this stuff. Maybe that's worth the price. As far as the ePure Sport goes, the stock machine, in my opinion, is more than enough for the average trials rider. It's still one of my favorite bikes of all time, and I will probably have one in my stable for the rest of my life. I hope you guys enjoy the channel, and if you are, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as follow us on Instagram at IRC Moto and my personal Instagram page at RichLarson511. And until next time, keep shredding.